Hello, guys, and welcome to episode 4 of Fighting Illini Live. Spring is here. There's a little bit of daylight as I'm filming this. That's the first time I've had a little bit of daylight, sun setting, so that's how you know spring is here. A very happy birthday to my dad, the biggest Illini fan I know. I hope you enjoy this episode. Today we're talking about some spring ball. We got some position group previews for you, starting with quarterbacks because the spring rosters are out as of this week. We are also talking some Illini basketball. The Big Ten tournament began today, and Illinois got a big win against Purdue last Friday to lead them into this tournament. They play their first game tomorrow. So we're going to be talking about quarterbacks and basketball today. Who says no to that, right? Before we get into it, of course, this episode is brought to you on, the voice of College Football Network. Get your business, product, service, or personal brand to the next level by partnering with the voice of college football. See what our partner Win Agency has to say about its sponsorship experience with us. Let's discuss how you also can reach your target market. Contact us at sponsorships@vocfb.com today. That is also on the bottom of your screen. That is sponsorships@vocfb.com today. And also, guys, I don't know if you saw, but on the channel, Illinois had a big hire last week. James White, three-time Super Bowl champ, the New England Patriots, is joining the coaching staff. He is joining as the assistant running backs coach. I posted a breaking news video right after the video yesterday. Sorry, I'm just seeing that the Iowa final score has just come through. Iowa has just beaten Ohio State. So that is Illinois' matchup for their first game of the Big Ten tournament tomorrow. 77-70 just happened. So just checking that score. So I will be our opponent, but I'll get into that later. But yeah, definitely check out my breaking news video about James White. Very excited. He's a three-time Super Bowl champion joining this coaching staff. He also played under Bielema at Wisconsin. To get more of my thoughts on that, check out my video from last Thursday. All right, guys. So let's get into it. Oh, I also want to announce before, let's not get into it yet. I did want to also say that on the Illinois football Instagram, they did drop some number changes this week. There's a lot of number changes from this year to last year. A lot of returning players changing their numbers. I'm not going to go through all of those because you guys don't want to hear me read off numbers for 5 minutes. But if you want to check out any of the number changes, check that out on their Instagram. Okay, time for our first position group preview, starting with the most important position in all of sports, the quarterbacks. So Illinois has 5 quarterbacks listed on their spring roster on the Illini Athletics website. We have 2 seniors, Luke Altmaier and Ethan Hampton. We have 1 redshirt freshman in Trey Petty, and we have 2 true freshmen new to the team in Carson Boyd and Jershawn Newton. So let's start with Luke Altmaier, of course. You probably need to know the least about him. I'm not going to bore you with background because he was our starter last year. He's returning as a starter for what I believe is his final year of eligibility. Had a really good season last year. I mean, obviously they only lost to 2 games, but he returns as the starter. He completed, 3 games. Apologize for that. He completed 211 of 347 pass attempts. He had 2,717 yards, 22 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a 144.0 QBR. His best game was that Purdue game. And keep in mind, they did not beat down on Purdue the way that everyone else in the Big Ten did. They won 50-49 in overtime. So all of these stats are in the clutch. He wasn't just beating up on Purdue. 379 yards, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers in that game. He improved tremendously on 2023. He had almost 1,000 more yards He had more pass attempts, but not by an insane margin. So he had a lot more yards. And then he only had 13 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. So a much improved TD to interception ratio. Look, I kind of talked about this in the first episode, right? How Luke Altmaier is not going to light up the stat sheet unless it's against Purdue. But all his other games, right? Nothing super stands out when you look at his game log. He's a very consistent player. He's very reliable. And last year, his turnovers were way down. He only had 6 interceptions in fewer pass attempts last year when he had 10 in 2023. He's just a smart quarterback. He's a smart quarterback. He takes care of the ball. And I mean, he'll be better than ever this year, right? He has so much experience under his belt. And the 2024 experience now, he has a lot of winning experience under his belt, right? He won a New Year's Day bowl game against an SEC team. He's played in that Penn State atmosphere. Even though they lost that game, he played in that Penn State atmosphere, kept them close in that game. I mean, look, man, he's got a lot of experience, had some tough wins. He beat Michigan. That Nebraska win at Nebraska was tough. That Rutgers win got pretty wild. That was a really high-scoring game. They put up 30-plus points in 7 of their 13 games last year. Very impressive offensively. And even though his stats don't light up on the stat sheet, he's at the heart of that offense. And he is carrying that offense. He is very experienced now, as I mentioned. I think he's only going to improve in 2025. We could see him flirt with getting 3,000 yards this year. We could see him having an even better TD to interception ratio, even though 22-6 is pretty good. Very excited to see what he can accomplish, right? It's of all the returning players, I don't think any are quite as important as Luke Altmaier, because the core of this offense is staying the same. We got a smart player. He's not going to turn the ball over much. He's going to take care of the football. Really excited to see what he is going to do in year, I believe that's year 3 for him on the Illini. This is 5th year in college. All right, so that's Luke Altmaier. You guys already know a lot about him. Just quickly giving my takes on him because I already kind of gave my opinion on him. I'm very excited to see what he can do. I think he's a great quarterback, and I really believe in him. All right, so now we got some newer faces for you guys. So next is Ethan Hampton. This is who I would assume is the most likely backup to Luke Altmaier. Ethan Hampton will be wearing number 10. He is a senior, transferred from NIU last year. He's originally from Elburn, Illinois, so not too far away. He threw for 1,600 yards, 12 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a 123.9 rating in 2024, leading the Huskies to a 7-5 record. Of course, what stands out about Ethan Hampton to me is that even though that was mostly a defensive win, right? It was a 16-14 final score. He led NIU to a victory at Notre Dame, one of Notre Dame's only 2 losses on the year. They would not lose another game until the national championship. Very impressive that he got that win. He also played against Western Illinois the week before. That stands out to me since that is who Illinois will be kicking their season off against this year. But last year, it was NIU who played Western Illinois to kick off their season. He won that game 54-15. He went 18 of 20 for 328 yards, 5 touchdowns. That was obviously his best performance of the year. My take on Ethan Hampton, I'm really excited to get an experienced quarterback who's won a tough game like that Notre Dame game. I mean, looking at NIU's season, was that game kind of a fluke? I mean, yeah. I mean, they went 7-5 in the MAC, and Notre Dame was almost unstoppable against everyone else they played, right? Like that game really lit a fire under Notre Dame. I mean, they were, again, they didn't lose again to a national championship, but I mean, I did a solid job at NIU. Nothing really stands out other than that win. And then the Western Illinois game, he torched Western Illinois. Maybe if he has to get in that very first game of the year, I don't think that'll be a problem. Hopefully he does get in, not for injury reasons, just for Illinois blowout reasons, you'd hope. But he's just it seems like a reliable, solid, experienced quarterback to have behind Luke Altmaier. And he's going to have a lot to pass down to the other three younger quarterbacks in this QB room. You feel safe behind Altmaier. Obviously, we don't want Altmaier to go down. Obviously, he's not going to quite give you what Luke Altmaier is going to give you, but he's a solid, reliable backup, and I'm excited to have another senior, veteran, proven guy beating Notre Dame. Anyone who won at Notre Dame, to me, that proves that you have the experience to compete with anyone at this level. Even if they scored 16 points, he did what he needed to do to win the game, much in Luke Altmaier fashion. So I'm very excited that he's part of this roster as well. And again, I'm assuming since he is a senior and the others are freshmen, that he is going to be the main backup to Luke Altmaier this season. All right, so let's get into some of the younger guys. So these are some guys you really aren't going to know too much about. But first, this is a returning player. Technically, this is Trey Petty. He is a redshirt freshman. He redshirted last year, so he's now suiting up for this year. He was number 12, or he will be number 12. I apologize. That's one of the number changes. He was number 0 last year on their roster, but he's going to be wearing 12. He's a 3-star recruit from Starkville, Mississippi, which is, oddly enough, the same exact hometown and high school as Luke Altmaier. And Illinois has an interesting hold on the Starkville, Mississippi quarterbacks. And man, Starkville, Mississippi has produced some nice quarterbacks. Then we've got Luke Altmaier, and now a 3-star recruit. He was a 3-year starter there at Starkville. 2023, he was the 7A Mr. Football in Mississippi. The year before, in 2022, they were in 6A, and he won the state championship. He was also the MVP of that championship game. Total in his career in high school, he had just under 7,000 passing yards, over 3,000 rushing yards, and over 100 touchdowns. That is per fightingillini.com. He also played basketball. And my opinion on him is that since he was with the team last year, he's most likely to be their 3rd string quarterback. That is Trey Petty, for those of you just joining. And definitely some good QB competition in the future. It's not going to be easy because we have 2 nice true freshmen coming in after him that I'm about to get to in a second, but good track record, right? He went to the same high school as Altmaier, so they have that nice connection. They should work together very well because of that. Excited to see what Trey Petty gives us, man. And again, I'm assuming that he's going to get buried behind the 2 seniors, right? All of these guys are, right? No one's going to pass Hampton or Altmaier on the depth chart, especially not Altmaier. But even Hampton, just because of his experience, likely not going to get passed on the depth chart. But I would think Trey Petty is your candidate if both of them go down for some reason to step in there. All right, so now we got 2 true freshmen. So these guys are brand new to the Illinois quarterback room. So first up, I'm going to talk about Carson Boyd. He will be wearing number 4. He is a true freshman from St. Louis, Missouri. He was born in 2007. That made me feel kind of old. And if I'm feeling old, born in 2002, I can't imagine how old you other guys are feeling. That guy born in 2007 is now on the Illinois football roster. He is also a 3-star recruit. He was a guy I talked about in the first episode. If you were there for the first episode, he was listed as a quarterback defensive tackle on the roster, but the spring ball roster is officially out. He is listed just as a quarterback. I'm not shocked. If he pulled off QB defensive tackle, I'd have been stunned. He went to Cardinal Ritter High School in St. Louis. He had a 48-5 record there. He had over 7,000 passing yards, over 2,000 rush yards, and over 100 total touchdowns. So very similar stat line to Trey Petty, honestly. So that's very exciting. He can run very well. He also did track. He has two brothers that also currently play in college football. One is at Missouri State, and the other is at North Central College in Naperville. Shout out West Suburbs. He got some good offers as well. We always like to see the Illini recruits get some good offers. This includes Louisville, Missouri, Texas A&M, and UCF. Those are just the ones that stood out to me. He obviously had more offers than that. But yeah. My take on him this year, again, like I said, he's going to be like Trey Petty, right? There's just older QBs on the roster with that experience. So he's going to get stuck behind them. I highly doubt we're going to see Carson Boyd get some action this year unless he just lights it up in training camp and shoots up the depth chart. But he's got a lot of potential for the future. This is a very athletic guy. I definitely think he can compete for the third string job with Trey Petty as well. I think all these guys can compete for that third string job. Very excited about Carson Boyd as well. I'm excited about all these guys. I mean, when you look at their stats, when you look at these players, how could you not be excited about what they bring to the table? These are all great recruits. I mean, we have 3-star quarterbacks sitting 4th, 5th on the depth chart now. Like this is a whole different Illinois football culture than the one I grew up with. This is incredible. Last, but certainly not least on this list is Jershawn Newton. He does not have a number officially listed on the spring roster. He is a true freshman from St. Petersburg, Florida. And if his name sounds familiar to you, it's because it almost does. He is the younger brother of Jerzon Newton, former Illini Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, and was drafted in last year's NFL draft early in the second round by the Washington Commanders. He unfortunately missed his rookie year due to injury. But he has 4 brothers in total, all freakishly athletic. So it's, I love this. This is like when you see the all name team in college football, right? Where they got like memorable factor, the coldest to ever do it, Crawford, guys like that. This is like, his name isn't crazy, obviously, but when I tell you this, it's going to be very reminiscent of that. He has 4 brothers in total. So he is Jershawn, and then his brothers are Jervon, Jerquan, Jerwan, and then Jerzon. That is awesome. I mean, what a lineup there. And they're all athletes too. Jerwan was a 3-time All-MAC selection as a wide receiver at Toledo. They also play all different positions. Crazy athletic family. Great family tree, great pedigree that this guy's coming from. How could you not be excited about getting another Newton on the Illini roster, especially one at quarterback? He was listed as a 4-star recruit, actually, by Rivals. He is still a 3-star like the other QB recruits by the other major outlets. It's 24/7 Sports, ESPN, and On3. Rivals ranked him as a number 4 quarterback in the entire class 2025 and the number 42 player overall in the state of Florida. He also did basketball and track. So between that, his brothers, I don't think I need to prove to you anymore that this guy is a freak athlete. He had a ton of great offers as well. He had pretty much all the offers that Carson Boyd got. He also had offers from FSU, Indiana, Miami, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Pitt, South Carolina, in addition to those teams from before. He's been fantastic. My overall take on him, I've kind of already shared that with you guys, right? He is a freak athlete. He is from a fantastic family. He was a 3-sport athlete. There's no reason why, if Illinois doesn't hit up the transfer portal next year, that he cannot compete for the starting job. I'm really excited about him. I'm really going to be keeping an eye on Jershawn Newton in spring camp and training camp after that. He's very exciting just because of of the history. He's already got an Illini connection. He's going to have a lot of pride playing for this team for sure, walking in the footsteps of his older brother, Jerzan. Very excited about all these guys, right? Overall, this is a fantastic quarterback group. There's lots of experience at the top of it, which is the most important thing. And there's a lot of talent towards the bottom of it, right? There's a lot of hope for the future on this depth chart, as well as experience that's needed for the present at the top of it. So that's my take on the quarterback room. Let me know, guys, if you have any strong opinions about any of these quarterbacks. But yeah, let's talk some basketball. Now that we've done our quarterback preview, got about 10 minutes left tonight. Talk some basketball. A Big Ten tournament is underway, and Illinois closed out their year with a second straight win against a ranked opponent. It's 3 straight wins in total, but they beat Purdue at home. Very impressive win. Again, 88-80. They were trailing almost the entire game. They pulled it out. It was a great comeback win. Great team win. All 5 starters scored double digits. It was Will Riley, who just got named Big Ten Sixth Man of the Year with 22. And Trey White stepped up again, just like he did against Michigan last Sunday. He dropped 20 and 9. He was their leading rebounder again as a guard. Very impressed with the team play in that one. And they might be playing their best basketball of the year right now. The way they crushed Michigan, the way they didn't hear no bell against Purdue, right? I'm really excited for all this momentum that they've got into the Big Ten tournament. Because look, yes, the entire season is important. I'm not going to say that. But the teams that we see be successful in their conference tournaments, be successful in the NCAA tournament. Geez, I cannot talk today. Those are the teams that are hot in March. March is a lot about who's hot. And it's 3 wins, but 3 very impressive wins. Stack that with some wins in the Big Ten tournament, right? This team is flaming hot going into March. People are already looking at them as a 6 seed, 7 seed that can really make some noise, can make a deep run. That's how the national media is seeing them. We already know that they are capable of that, right? Plus, Morez Johnson is active tomorrow's game, which is officially against Iowa. Now, that is confirmed at the start of this episode. Morez Johnson broke his wrist on February 15th. He is back for the Big Ten tournament. That's a big gain, right? Because, I mean, they were practically playing with only 8 guys for some of these games. So getting Morez Johnson back is huge, definitely adds some height. Illinois is a 7 seed in the Big Ten tournament. So they had the bye today. The tournament began today. They just had the single bye, but they're playing Iowa. Iowa is their opponent. That'll be at 5:30 Central tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern. Look out for that. So obviously, they recently played Iowa. They beat them 81-61 at home on February 25th. Really not that long ago. And I mean, they kicked the crap out of them. Iowa was the lowest team to make this tournament, right? Only the top 15 of the 18 teams make this tournament. So Iowa has the most outside chance to make some noise in this tournament. But they got a close win against Ohio State today. I'm not overly worried about this Iowa game. I know they just beat them recently. That always is cause for worry, right? Not only have you beat a team already, right? It's hard to beat a team twice, 3 times. It's certainly difficult, especially when it's recently, right? They only played them about like a week and a half ago. But still, with the way this Illinois team is playing, they're going to be stronger with Morez Johnson back than they were when they played Iowa not that long ago. And that was a 20-point victory. They dominated in that game. I am happy about the matchup. Ohio State, they also beat Ohio State, right? They beat them 87-79, but I'm less worried about Iowa than I am about Ohio State is what I'm trying to say, because Ohio State played them in a much closer game at home. I'm not too worried about Iowa. I really hope I don't eat my words, but this team is on fire right now, and I just can't see how they would lose this game. But check that out, 5:30 Central Time, 6:30 Eastern Time tomorrow. If they beat Iowa, then that's when they get the 2 seed. They get the 2 seed Maryland. That's a tough matchup. Maryland kicked the crap out of Illinois. That was January 23rd. It was 91-70, right? But there are some important stats to look at from that game, right? There's certainly not no hope, even though Maryland is one of the hottest teams in the Big Ten right now. They've been fantastic. So yeah, I mean, they lost by 21 at home, but 16 turnovers in that game allowed Maryland to score 27 points off those turnovers. And they also shot poorly. They only shot 37%, while Maryland shot 50% from the floor. That is crazy. Shoot 50% from the floor. And also, they got bullied in the paint. Maryland only hit 3 threes the entire game. They got bullied in the paint because Tomislav Ivisic was out for that game. He did not play. So Ivisic should be playing for that game, right? Knock on wood, right? I don't know why he wouldn't be. So they have that advantage going for them. But other than that, they just got to take care of the ball. They just got to take care of the ball in a much better way than they did against Maryland the first time. Maryland's a hot team, but they got to realize that the Illini are just as hot right now with their Michigan-Purdue wins. They got to trust themselves, right? They got to trust themselves. They got to feel confident about having Ivisic for this game when they didn't have him back in January. They just got to believe in themselves. It's certainly a tough matchup for just the second game. If they do get past Maryland as well, their semifinal opponent is likely to be Purdue or Michigan, the 2 ranked teams that they just beat. Also hard to beat teams twice, right? And at least for Purdue's sake, that was a close game at home. This would be on a neutral court. Really tough game. But if Illinois beats Maryland the day before, right, and they're matched up with Purdue, I think they're going to have a lot more. They're going to have more momentum than anyone in the tournament at that point. If they can just crush Iowa tomorrow, right, and then beat Maryland, a win against Maryland really puts you on the map. That's when teams are going to start fearing you instead of us looking at Maryland right now and looking at that as the opponent to beat on the bottom half of the bracket where Illinois is, right? So, I mean, really, I think Maryland is their biggest challenge to getting to the championship. Obviously, when it comes to the championship, the biggest challenge would be Michigan State. That's going to be tough to pull off. But again, if you beat all these teams, by then you've got all this momentum. Michigan State has a double bye, right? So Illinois will have an extra win under their belt going into that one. I'm excited. Illinois certainly has the potential to make a deep run. It really all depends on Maryland, right? Because if they lose to Maryland second round, then their only win of the Big Ten tournament is Iowa, and that's just not really. I don't want to say a win in a conference tournament isn't impressive, but it's certainly nothing. They're not going to do anything to help their resume by just beating Iowa and exiting the tournament, right? A win against Maryland, then this team looks like they can repeat as Big Ten tournament champions, right? Real quickly, I'm going to get into my predictions for the Big Ten tournament. Northwestern also won today. So you got that going on for them. Northwestern plays Wisconsin. Iowa will be playing Illinois. USC Rutgers are playing right now. I haven't seen the score for that game. I think Rutgers is going to take that one just because of the pure star power that they have. So then that gives us tomorrow would be Indiana, Oregon. That's a really good game. I'm quickly going to pick honestly, I think I'm going to pick Indiana to win that game. Indiana has a lot more to prove than Oregon does in terms of the bubble, right? They're a lot more in danger. So I think they take that one. Wisconsin is not playing well. I certainly think Northwestern could beat Wisconsin because Penn State just beat Wisconsin last week. Yeah, you know what? I mean, one of these teams from the first day of the tournament always knocks someone out. And I think looking at this bracket right now, it'd be Northwestern over Wisconsin. I would take there. Illinois, Iowa. I'm very confident that Illinois is going to take care of Iowa, and then Purdue, Rutgers. Purdue should take care of Rutgers at that point, right? Then we got Indiana, Michigan State. Then I think Indiana's in a bit more trouble. I think Michigan State takes care of them. UCLA should finally put an end to Northwestern's little run. Illinois, Maryland. I'm going to pick Maryland for now, but remember what I told you, right? There's so many things Illinois got, just simple things, really. I mean, just if Ivicic is back, Maryland's not going to shoot 50% again. That's not going to happen again. And just limit the turnovers, take care of the ball. They certainly can win that game, right? For now, I'm going to pick Maryland, however. And then I'm going to take Purdue over Michigan. Michigan is also not playing well. I think Purdue takes that. So then semifinal would be Michigan State versus UCLA. Michigan State, I think, will take that as well. Maryland, Purdue, I think that will be Maryland. And again, if the Illini don't stop them now, a Maryland-Michigan State championship game, probably Maryland is my pick to win the Big Ten tournament. They are playing some hot basketball, but never count Michigan State out of there, right? There's a lot of teams on here that can make some noise. So that does it for this week's episode of Fighting Illini Live. Sorry, I went a little over time today. Make sure to catch Illinois' game against Iowa, their first game in the Big Ten tournament, tomorrow, 5:30 Central Time, 6:30 Eastern Time. Next week, I will be previewing the running backs on the Illinois roster, and we will also be looking at Illinois' path in March Madness because Selection Sunday is this Sunday. We're going to have a bracket when I film next week. So I'm going to take you through their path. Look out for Fighting Illini Live 5 next week. Thank you for joining me tonight. ILL.